Oh! Oh my god. Oh, man, I gotta back that up. I'm gonna play it in slow-mo right from here. I wanna say this before I play it in slow-mo. I'm very, very impressed with the way he bumps and sells, but that's a double-edged sword, and I know it better than anybody else. His greatest asset is gonna possibly be why he might be at 53 years old or sooner feeling the way I felt or more outside of a spine infection. Your greatest asset is also beating your body up prematurely. So my wish for JD McDonough would be to try to get over in a way where he can limit any bumps at all and eliminate these types of bumps. So let's go slow motion. All right, so I'm gonna stop it right here. You know why the catch it worked, but it didn't work. You know why?
Mhm.
This very much is reminiscent of a Rey Mysterio type of springboard moonsault to the aisleway with nothing behind him. And they usually backflip or roll through, land on their feet, fire up. So this is a positioning error. If he had done this on the other side, sure, it wouldn't felt good. He probably would have cracked his head on the aisleway. But you go over, you land, and then usually you roll or you stay straight on your feet. The positioning of the table and also Warbeard Hansen did catch him in order to let him land on his feet. But then the momentum did this. You see what I mean?
Mhm.
It wasn't what went wrong, it's where went wrong or where it was wrong. This side instead of all the way over here to give him the room. See, perfect right there? That catch right there is always gonna be, I land over your shoulder, kinda like a Davy Boy Smith power slam, and I land on my feet behind you. I either roll I would dare say, even if oh, that's one thing right there. He didn't land on his feet. Hmm. Now, the only part I would say, and this is one of those things like in the NFL, in real time, you don't really see it. You don't know. But in slow mo, right here, Warbeard Hansen should have stayed on his feet and stayed braced. You see what I mean? But JD McDonough, I think what might have happened was their feet got tangled up a little bit. You see how JD, you zoom in right here. He's not landing flat on his feet. He's landing to where it's going to arc back like this rather than just come straight down and stand him up. But guess what's going to happen though? He's still going to hit the lower part of his back or his spine very hard against the edge of that table. And he's going to have a whiplash effect, just like he did with the upper back hitting, where right there, if he didn't hit that, he would have hit the middle of his back. How did he not break his neck? This is every bit as bad as that dude who did the 630 or whatever and then landed straight on
Mhm.
his head backwards. This is the same kind of whiplash. That's my heart goes out to this guy. By the way, this was a really good match. Outside of this whole thing, the War Raiders looked awesome. Dom and JD were working well together. The formulation for the match was very good. Dare I say it, they didn't need to do this. They did it. They were trying to take people out like a shotgun finish, right? To kind of take somebody out. But this was not necessary in the least. Technically, nothing wrong. It's a positioning error. And I think Hanson, Ivar, I call him Warbeard Hanson from the War Machine days, and he was Handsome Johnny on the Indies. Really great guy. So this is a dude that's not going to shy away. This is a dude that will hurt himself before he hurts somebody else. So he must feel terrible. But this is nobody's fault. Nothing went wrong. It should have just been on that side of the entryway where both guys could take a bump, separate, and then take their respective bumps away from each other. This was way too crowded. So, once again, please, yeah, I don't know what and is the table pushed back? You see that right there?
Mm.
Or is that from where he hit? Oh, no,
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 it's
they
almost
have a
misaligned, isn't it?
it's misaligned, but it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter. Even when it was
Yeah.
aligned, there's a space between when he hits, there's a space here, and then even if it's misaligned, there's still gonna be, like, a space. He hit the corner no matter what. It's not gonna doesn't mean anything, but man, how did he how did he break his ribs? Was it just the impact of was it his upper ribs up there?
Yeah, well, I figure so. I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you the quotes that that JD gave on Twitter the next day confirming the injuries. So he says, first off, thanks to everyone for the messages and the concern. I'm good. I've got a couple of broken ribs and a punctured lung. So I'm going to be out for a couple of months. All things considered, it could have been a lot worse. So I'm grateful for that. See you in a bit. And you're right. He could have had some real severe whiplash. I mean, you see how hard his neck snaps back on that.
I would assume broken neck before 2 broken ribs and a punctured lung, but take it from somebody that had a collapsed lung from a lung biopsy. But dude, what I don't do these things, and maybe I did them just so we can have a show in 2025 and not run out of topics, but he's lucky he didn't break his neck, and I'm sure they did films, they did MRIs, they did CT scans, they did all sorts of brain stuff. You gotta check this guy out again. If he doesn't have a hairline fracture, if he doesn't have a herniation, this is a part to do not only rehab, but prehab for this, and the way this guy bumps is so vicious and intense, he knocks himself silly on mostly every bump. He bumps hard, man, and he needs to not bump less hard or work less hard, but he's got to do something to protect his body. What is he? He's gotta be 25, 30 at the oldest. This is just way too young to have these injuries.
I'm just looking. He was born in 1990, so
25,
35.
35, yes.
He'd be 35 in March.
I think, man, he's a young looking 35, but the body is not a young 35, right?
Mm.
The body
No.
will tell you how old you are. My heart goes out to him, his family, anybody in his loved ones, his friends. But one thing I will say repeatedly, nothing went wrong as far as Ivar Hansen catching him improperly, not catching him doing the move wrong, him doing the move and overshooting him. Everything was supposed to be the positioning of this is shoulder, take him down, land on your feet. If you can stay upright and fire up, great. If you do that, you roll backwards and you sell. That's the way it should have been. If it was on the other side, it probably would have worked out okay. But he's got a concussion too. I don't care what anybody says. I'm going to take it back. You look at that full screenshot. How can you get that whiplash and not have a concussion? A concussion isn't the big chair shot or anything like that. It's any movement where the brain smacks up against your skull. If you're telling me right here that his brain did not smack up against his skull and pinball back and forth, no, no way, dude.
I was going to suggest, was there not a question of over rotation? I mean, could he have not? I mean, I suspect, he could have done because he's talented enough, just done more of a traditional moonsault where he isn't rolling through, just doing, body on body, just upside down kind of thing.
Excellent, excellent point. Now, I want to bring up here, right here. This is the point of impact on Ivar. Now, we talked about Scott Hall earlier. Cody Hall suffered a neck injury in Japan against, I think, the Young Bucks. They did a similar moonsault. I think it was on the outside from the bleed. I'm not sure. They came right down on his head. So if he came down and didn't over rotate and came straight down, he could have compressed his neck. He could have injured his shoulder. He could have dislocated his shoulder. In other words, the motion of this to almost graze or do a glancing blow. And also, when JD lands, here's the thing too. In the aisleway, if you want the guy to take a bump, you're doing a moonsault, you come down, your arms literally can hook his chest and his shoulders and pull him down. as you come down. So this was the safer version that would not have injured Ivar's neck or anybody else. You want to land over that shoulder.
Mm.
And also in psychology, it's good because you know what happens? Say he got caught. He's in the exact position to get caught for a power slam, post, snake eyes, whatever it might be. So that lends to doing it properly psychology wise as well in the same location with the same style.
I'm wondering also, because there's two camera angles, as you know, that's the replay camera angle where you can see everything perfectly. Is there a question of speeding through slightly? Because, as I say, the live feed, the director didn't catch the moonsault in time. I'm wondering if it was maybe a case of just speeding through a bit too quickly and not considering the space in that sense.
Who was speeding through it?
JD. What I'm saying is he went outside, did the moonsault so quickly that the director didn't switch camera angles in time to even catch it. So maybe it wasn't obvious what he was doing.
Well, I mean, also, all right, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother episode, possibly, because my guess is that they're still getting used to a wrestling show production. They let a lot of wrestling people go, including Kevin Dunn. They're bringing other directors and producers or people in charge of that. I don't know if the cameramen, if they're still there, they can only do so much, right? It's up to the person in the truck to switch the camera angle. These things are so rehearsed and walked through too, James. They didn't say, oh, well, he was supposed to be. Maybe, maybe he was supposed to be in the aisle. And Warbeard Hansen or Ivar just happened to bump out there. We talk about Hot Wheels feet. This is a part where Hot Wheels feet, I'll give you a pass because you're protecting people. You know, let's go all the way around and do it there. You know what I mean? But this was, he's here. That could be what went wrong right there. That Ivar just happened to bump and ended up there. So JD, in a right theoretical fashion, said, I'm just going to take what's given to me. The director's like, point to the aisleway because that's where the moonsault's happening. Oh, wait, no. Let's get a replay of that. And my guess is too that they did not know how injured JD was. Who could know live? So they showed the replay. If they knew off the first take, this dude is hurt, the X goes up right away, they're never shooting him again during that match. Maybe in his recovery or B-roll or a package, but they would stay far away from that.